podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. This show originally aired on the Premier Networks on Sunday, November 22nd, 2020. This is episode 1748. Enjoy. The Tech Guy podcast comes to you from TWiT's LastPass Studios. Securing every access point in your company does not have to be a challenge. LastPass unifies access and authentication to make securing your employees simple and secure, even when they're working remotely. Check out lastpass.com/twit to learn more. This episode of the Tech Guy podcast is brought to you by LastPass. Give your IT and security leaders control of password security with the award-winning LastPass. Visit lastpass.com/twit to find out how they can help you. Well, hello. Leo Laporte here. It's time to talk tech. I'm the tech guy, so what else would I talk about? If you're interested in computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smartwatches, you've come to the right place. That's what we're going to do for the next few hours, is kind of obsessively geek out, but I'll try to do it in English. I do. I make that resolution every weekend. Sometimes it slips and we get a little geeky, but I will endeavor to translate. This is not foreign language programming. 8888 Ask Leo is the phone number if you want to talk tech with me. You don't have to be a geek. In fact, it's good if you're not. I like to hear from people who, are just, hey, I have this thing. What do I do with this thing? That's what we're here for. 888-827-5536. Toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. Outside that area, you can still reach me, but you're going to have to do it via Skype out or something like that. 8888 Ask Leo. When you hear something on the show, don't worry, don't freak out, don't panic, because you don't have to write it down or anything. You just need to wait for it. My Google's booting up. Why does it do that? I don't know. It's in a boot loop. I'll have to unplug it again. I'm sorry. Didn't mean to interrupt, but you know how these things are. These voice assistants, they do interrupt, don't they? You're watching a TV show, a football game or whatever, and all of a sudden Siri goes, "Yes, I don't know what you're talking about. Hello? Hello? Please pay attention to me." Or Google goes, that's not nice. What? I didn't say anything. Or Amazon's Echo goes, "Turning all the lights off now," and you're suddenly plunged into the darkness. That's the world we live in today, and that's what we talk about on the show. If you hear something and you don't want to write it down, you shouldn't have to, especially if you're driving and you're out and about. That's all right. We have a scribe. His name is James DeRuvo. Hi, James. Little Jimmy DeRuvo is going to write that all down and put it up on the website so you can see it, links and all. The website's free. There's no sign up. This is not a come on to get you to subscribe to my newsletter. I don't even have a newsletter because I'm an underachiever. I really am. I should. I know. But I don't. Just go to techguylabs.com and everything will be made available to you at no cost. techguylabs.com. So I say that so you don't feel like, oh, what did he say? It's all there. We even put audio and video from the show so you could actually scrub back and say, what did he say? And you could hear it again. That is, by the way, the single greatest feature on, I don't know if is it just Apple TV? Roku might do this too. I use it all the time. Watching The Crown on Netflix last night. Very posh English accents. Sometimes hard to understand. If I miss something, I can just press the button on the remote. That's why I'm talking like this. Press the button on the remote. And I say, what did she just say? It skips back 30 seconds, turns on closed captioning, replays it, and then turns it off. I love that, the closed captioning. I love that. So sometimes these are useful. Here's something completely useless. Do you remember the old days of booting your computer? You'd put a floppy drive in and we'd go, and then it was reading in what we call a master boot record, little tiny portion of the disk that contained just a few instructions on how to go from here. Go look on the hard drive. There's an operating system there, that kind of thing. Yes, you're a computer. Good morning. Well, somebody, it was crazy. I don't know why they would do this, but somebody has Boggin Jr., BOGINJR.com, has decided that instead of a floppy or a USB or a boot DVD or a hard drive, what if we could boot from a vinyl record? Booting from a record player, connected a PC to a record player through an amplifier. On the record, they recorded the sound of what we call a bootloader. Same thing that's on the master boot record, a small ROM bootloader. It actually requires, in order to do this, you have to have the original IBM PC, which could boot to a cassette, and that cassette was audio. Did you ever listen to the cassette? So, if you can't boot from the floppy, you can't boot from the hard drive. On these IBM PCs, they say, well, I don't know, is there a cassette? The turntable spins an analog recording of a small, bootable, read-only RAM drive, 64K, containing free DOS, which is basically a free version of the old DOS operating system. He had to really squeeze it down to get it in there. Command.com. Remember that? Command.com. Remember that? The bootloader reads the disk image from the audio recording through the cassette modem, loads it to memory, and boots up. Why would you do that? If you have to ask that question, I'm curious what this sounds like. Yeah, there's the trying to get to the hard drive. And I guess the turntable's now turning on. And it says needle on the record. Oh, it actually has an instruction that says, all right, now, because you have to do this manually, put the needle on the record and start it up. And the record, which says DOS boot disk on it, apparently it's all it needs to play the special sounds. Wait a minute, I don't know. Can you hear that? That's crazy. I shouldn't play that on the air because probably somebody somewhere is booting up. Sounds a little like that sound that the modems used to make. The sound of data. That's kind of what this show is about. It's crazy, kooky, wild technology stuff. We also talk about the real world. The Flash. That's the real world. Not Flash Gordon. Flash, the thing that made those jumping monkeys and the punch the monkey and all the animations on the internet for years and years. It's gone, It's over. End of life this year. This is so bye-bye, Flash. It's probably a good thing. It was full of bugs. It caused, endless security problems. It was fat, so it slowed computers down. The beginning of the end was more than a decade ago when Steve Jobs said, we're not going to put Flash in the iPhone. And then later the iPad. We're not going to do it. That was the beginning of the end. Well, if you want to see Flash, you don't need to have Flash in your system, which is good because most systems no longer support it. But you can go to this wonderful place, I hope you know about it, called the Internet Archive, where they are saving bits of the internet, which is a good idea if you think about it. In a way, for the last 20 years, much of our history, our conversations, things we were talking about, thinking about doing, happened on websites, on the internet, right? But they go away. People made them, shut them down, give up on them. They become cobwebbed and dusty and eventually disappear. So the Internet Archive has, for that last 20 years, been just kind of scouring the internet and saving this stuff so that there's a record. It's really a very cool idea. And now they have a Flash showcase where there are more than 1,000 Flash animations. It's kind of fun because they're just out of context. They don't explain themselves. They don't. You can pick them by year, going all the way back to 2000, 20 years ago. You can pick it by subject matter, creator, language. Badger. Remember Badger? Badger lives on the Internet Archive. It's archive.org if you're curious. It's running in an emulator, so you don't have to have Flash. Just the silly, dopey things we used to do on the internet. That's what this whole monologue was about. Dopey things you can do because you can. 8888 Ask Leo. I'll tell you what. See, Jimmy, our scribe, he hates it when I call him Jimmy. Jimmy, if you would put the links to all of those fun things in the show notes, then people can badger themselves. 8888 Ask Leo, techguylabs.com. That's where the show notes are. Thank you, Jimmy. The Flash Showcase at archive.org. Here you go. Here's Badger. So this is an emulation. So watch what happens. It's actually a WebAssembly because you don't have Flash, right? Actually runs better than it did originally. Okay, so that's Badger, which was huge. Maybe you remember a little something called It's Peanut Butter Jelly Time.
It's peanut butter jelly time. Peanut butter jelly time. Peanut butter jelly time. Where you at? Where you at? Where you at? Where you at? There you go. There you go. There you go. There you go. Peanut butter jelly. Peanut butter jelly.
Aren't you glad the Internet Archive is saving this stuff? Preserving it forever? All your base belong to us.
What happened? Someone set up us the bomb. We get signal. What? Main screen turn on. It's you.
How are you, gentlemen? All your base are belong to us. You are on the way to destruction.
What you say?
You have no chance to survive, mate, your time. Ha ha ha.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, the Kimmy Schneffer show is on the air. The unbreakable phone angel, our Kim
You just
Scheffer.
broke me.
I just played a bunch during the break, and so that no one would have to hear it, except you.
Torture.
I played a few of the old Flash animations from the good old days.
It doesn't seem that long ago, but I guess it was.
Badger, peanut butter jelly time, and whoever could forget the hamster dance. By the way, if you're searching for it, you can find it, but you have to spell hamster with a P. The hamster dance.
Oh, okay.
Remember that?
Unfortunately, I do.
That was what the internet was for a long time. It was dumb stuff. I kind of miss those days. Now it's all serious.
I was just telling John yesterday that I'm jealous of the kids these days because there's all these home videos of them, and I have no home videos.
Oh, I know.
They don't exist. So
I have.
Now you just have this, and everybody's got a whole.
Yeah. Yeah, I had
archive.
slides, Ektachrome slides of my childhood. At least I had those.
Yeah.
My dad, I guess, was a camera bug. The first video I have of my kids are when Henry was probably about 6, and he had just learned to read. It was the year 2000, yeah, so he would be at 6. Because I remember getting my first digital camera, and it had a video capability. So I have a little short recording of him reading for the first time. And I'm so grateful for that.
Yeah.
That's amazing that I have that. And yeah, kids today, they're going to...
Kids today, they're on camera
fully documented.
24/7.
There's nothing
sacred.
Nothing we missed. Who should I talk to first today?
Let's go with Gantry, and you will play the role of Scott Wilkinson since he's not here today.
Okay, I can do that. I can channel Scott. Thank you, Kim. And Gantry's calling from Huntington Beach, California. Hi, Gantry.
Hi, Leo. How are you doing?
Thanks
great. For having me on. Been a long-time listener.
Thank you for listening. I appreciate it. I'm glad you found a cause to call. What is that?
Well, yesterday, Scott had mentioned some of the great deals with the sound bars that are out there.
Yeah.
So I got online and started looking. My sound bar, I've got a really old one from 15, almost 20 years ago that finally died. And it sits on an entertainment wall. On that entertainment wall, I've got a 65-inch TV, a left speaker, a right speaker, the subwoofer, and then behind my couch, I have 2 ceiling speakers.
Well, you're pretty well set up. I mean, that's a nice 5.1 surround system.
But the center speaker died.
Oh, you don't have a center channel. Yeah, it's nice to have the center
just
channel.
Died, and the old one. So I was looking at sound bars, but the problem is there's everything from 3D sound bars to Atmos sound bars to Bluetooth, Wi-Fi. Everything I have now is wired, but I'd like to replace it and upgrade the whole system. So the question is, what kind of soundbar do I get, and how does that work with the ceiling speakers that are behind me? And just seemed all very confusing.
Honestly, in some ways, the best thing to do at this point would be buy a center channel to replace the broken one. Because might be a little disappointed by soundbars. Let me explain what a soundbar is. It's really for people who don't have the surround speakers like you do, the left to the right channel, a center channel, a subwoofer. That's a 5.1 system. 5 speakers with 1 subwoofer. And if you're watching something mixed for 5-channel surround sound, most movies are these days, most streaming devices do Dolby 5.1. You're going to get, even when I watch a football game, I'll hear crowd noise in the side channels so that you feel like you're at the stadium. Sometimes the hot dog vendor will go by on my left side channel. It's very disconcerting. There's always, I don't know what it is about sporting events, but there's always one crazy woman who screams. She's always in the right channel. I have a feeling the networks are just putting her in because it wouldn't be a game without her. But that's great. And you have that already. All you're missing is the center. A soundbar simulates that. And it's hard to simulate. It's a single speaker that goes under your TV. It will have, or it's really a single unit that will have multiple speakers in it. And, the soundbar that you might have gotten a few years ago wouldn't have some of the newer features soundbars today have. For instance, they are using computer technology to simulate surround sound. And actually, they can do it pretty well. Spatial sound, they call it. S-P-A-T-I-A-L. The Apple, even the Apple earbuds, the AirPod Pros do this. And so all you need is 2 speakers to do that. And it's pretty remarkable. They use computers to, and really, it's really machine learning to kind of position stuff. You wouldn't think it could with left-right, could position stuff, but it can. So soundbars, that's what that 3D sound is. And some do it better than others. The latest soundbar that Scott, I presume sky's not the limit on price, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm flexible. I was actually willing to go a little more expensive on it if we needed to.
In my opinion, a soundbar is for people who don't want to do the wiring and don't want to spend the money. I mean, you could spend thousands of dollars, but it's really not, in my opinion, not as good as a true 5.1 sound system, which you're so close to. Because if you could, for maybe even the same price, upgrade the speakers. Are you using a AV receiver to do it?
I am, and that I'm upgrading too because I had a Denon that died, and so I was just getting ready to upgrade that to
new Denons are great,
yeah.
And you'll want to get one with a 4K capability in case you get a 4K TV down the road, and you can get them with 5.1 or 7.1. The reason you need an AV receiver is you need enough amplifier to power all of those speakers. But it sounds like you're so close to a real 5.1. But I'll tell you, I mean, since you ask, I'll tell you what Scott likes is the Vizio sound bars right now. They can work with a subwoofer. They probably wouldn't work with your ceiling speakers. They come with their own speakers, and they're wireless, and I think they're designed just for that. You can choose price point. There's a V series and an M series. They do Atmos, which means they can have speakers that fire up and bounce off your ceiling to give you spatial sound from above. They do a good job for a soundbar. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. The problem is it's a soundbar is trying to do what you already have in a sense, right?
And that was my question too, because I saw the ones with the rear speakers, but because I have ceiling speakers, I couldn't use, and I have a kitchen behind me, so I don't really have a place to put. There's no wall behind the area.
Do you have what kind of speakers do you have?
So the speakers right now are just old JBLs.
Well, yeah, but old JBLs are classics. That may not be bad.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, JBL speakers are widely used in recording sound studios. Every radio station I've ever worked in has JBL series speakers. Okay. They're usually the JBL's, what do they call them? Centuries, the 100s. But so there's good, bad, and bad JBLs. So I can
just get a cheap center speaker and be fine. That's basically what you're saying. And just
center speaker's not that important.
You do all the fancy sounds.
I don't think so. You're not going to get anything better than what you already have. They're trying to simulate with computer simulation what you already have, which is speakers placed around you. Now, the two surrounds are in the ceiling?
Correct.
Yeah, that's not ideal. You'd really want them kind of where your ears would be, like firing into your side ears, sort of. But they'll still work. You could adapt those to be Atmos speakers if you get an Atmos AV receiver, and then get two surrounds that are at ear level. Then you'd have speakers above, speakers to the side, left and right and front, and a center channels for the voice. And the thing is, the system you have, you're going to have a problem because because it's a surround system, they're going to put the voice in that center channel speaker, which is missing. So I don't know if you've discovered this, but dialogue's going to be hard to understand.
Oh, I have, and that's why we've been listening to TV, stuff from the actual TV, which, as we all know, is horrible.
So Scott likes.
I got to get the new Soundbar.
Scott likes the M series. I've actually auditioned them. They sound very good. They, because they do wireless surrounds and they have a sub, they're pretty close to what you've got. But you're gonna. The choice really would be that. And, they start at under $200. They're not hugely expensive. You can, it's going to cost more as you add pieces. Let's see, 150.
The Vizio M series?
Yeah, the M series. That's the one Scott likes.
Because I was willing to go all the way up to like the high end, but it doesn't sound like I need it. The Samsung HB 285.
You would, in my opinion, you'd be better off buying the new Denon. And even spending the same amount of money to upgrade your speakers to better speakers. Take a look. I just did this. I replaced some very good Emotiva speakers with ELAC. And this is the speaker company that Scott also likes. The reason he likes ELAC is because their speakers are designed by Andrew Jones, who's kind of the king of speaker design, ELAC.com. But the nice thing about ELACs, they're not horribly expensive. So you could look at the ELAC debut series, see what it would cost you to replace some or all of your speakers. You don't have to match, by the way. The most important is the left, the right, and the center. The sub can be continue to use your existing sub. That audio fidelity in a sub isn't that important. And the surrounds, if you wanted to, I would get two more surrounds. Use the above you speakers for Atmos. Get an Atmos receiver, and then buy two. ELAC has on-wall speakers that are not very expensive.
Perfect.
For $2,000, I replaced my entire 5.1 system with ELACs, and stunning improvement. So that's what I would if I were you.
ELAC has a center too.
Yep, ELAC has a really good center. And it's the debut series, and I think the debut 2.0 series. These are designed by Andrew Jones, just remarkable. The current one is 6.2, but the 5.2s are a little less expensive and probably just as good. I think you'd be happier. Hey, I got to run.
Thanks very much.
Nice to talk to you. We'll be back with more of the Tech Guy Show in just a little bit, but first a word from LastPass. You can't trust your business's most valuable data with just any company, right? Your employees are out there working from home. They got their laptops, even if they're under the roof of your business. They're still accessing the things that are most vital to your business: your bank accounts, your website, your data, your customer lists, and all of that. You got to protect it with LastPass. LastPass has been our choice for identity and access management For years, we're not the only ones. LastPass was named a leader in the G2 Fall Grid Reports, a leading peer-to-peer review site that provides unbiased user reviews on leading software solutions. Of the 746 customers that have left reviews on the Grid Reports, 93% of LastPass users rated them 4 or 5 stars. That's pretty darn good. Many awards. Certainly the best password manager out there. I've been using it since it came out 12 years ago. Why do we use LastPass at work? Well, for one thing, our IT department, our security people can take control of password security from a central dashboard. They can always see what's going on. They can even know how our employees are doing. We get, for every employee, password scores. We can see which accounts they're sharing. We can monitor group memberships and more. That's the kind of control you need. Plus, you can give administrative privileges to members of your staff without giving them access the keys to the whole kingdom. You can have limited privileges, make sure that any given admin only has access to the stuff they need to access. So our accounting department, the manager there can access the accounting stuff, but they can't get into the engineering stuff, that kind of thing. No matter what your organization's source of truth, LastPass integrates to onboard users, to sync groups, to revoke access. It is the easiest way to take control of your password, your identity management. And of course, when you're an admin, you get so much good information, security scores, real-time readouts of your business's password hygiene. You can track improvements over time. You can review audit reports. You can build compliance, maintain accountability with detailed reporting that ties actions to individuals. We require, as one of the more than 100 policies that we can implement, a multi-factor authentication of our employees, not only two-factor, but additional information like geolocation, IP address, things like that, that make sure the right person's accessing the right resource at the right time. You can make logging into different sites easy while still being secure. That's one of the reasons our employees, they don't just tolerate LastPass, they really like it. They use it because it's more convenient. It's easy for them, and the single sign-on choices are fantastic. If you have to create a password, don't just do it from memory or, that you're going to make a bad password. Let LastPass do it. Their password generator creates long, truly random passwords that will protect against hacking. And when it comes time to share passwords, don't share them by text message or email. That's dangerous. Use LastPass's built-in, highly secure password sharing mechanism. LastPass is so secure, I store everything in there. Notes, passports, driver's licenses, social security numbers. It's my secure enclave on every device I use. 8 awards so far this year. PC Magazine's Editor's Choice. They won the Fortress Cybersecurity Award, Business Insider's Best Overall Password Manager. That's just a few of their 8 awards this year. Let the award-winning LastPass help you take back control of your password security. Go to lastpass.com/twit. We thank LastPass so much for supporting us all year long. The studio naming rights, the support for all of our shows, we really appreciate it. And we also really appreciate the security we get by using LastPass. At home and at work, lastpass.com/twit. Now, back to the tech guy. Here he is, ladies and gentlemen. The man of the hour, Sam Abuelsamid, principal researcher at Guidehouse Insights, podcaster at wheelbearings.media, my car guy. And Sam, I'm very excited. I know you have something you want to talk about, but I'm very excited because tomorrow I'm having a baby. My Mustang Mach-E is scheduled to hit the assembly line tomorrow.
And about this time tomorrow, I will be driving around in one.
I know.
But I can't talk about it until 3 weeks from now.
You're embargoed.
Yep.
Yeah, well, they do that. That comes from the old days when you had print magazines that had, they were writing articles for 3 months later.
Well, right now, and they've continued to do that even when it wasn't for print magazines, because typically when they do the drive programs, they have multiple waves of people come in to drive
not
it,
everybody
and they want to
get it at once. Yeah,
give everybody a chance.
That makes sense.
And with what's going on right now with the pandemic, rather than flying a lot of people into various locations, most of the drive programs are regional, so they're taking the vehicles to different locations and doing local drives for the media that are in that area.
I'm okay. So I don't want to talk anymore about my car. That's so self-centered. But I am a little excited. It's kind of cool that they said,
be excited.
This is a little Tesla E where they send you an email saying, your car's going to be made on November 23rd. It's kind of like, but they're smart.
Well,
That's what's happened with cars these days. It's fanboy stuff, right?
That's right. They, especially, for EVs, manufacturers want to get people excited about them because, they're tooling up now to build huge numbers of these things. And so far, there hasn't been nearly enough consumer demand to justify the kind of production capacity they're putting in. So they've got to get people excited about them.
That's interesting.
Get them to want to buy them.
Yeah.
Actually, just this past week, GM made an announcement. They're actually accelerating and expanding their EV plans. They had previously said they were going to launch 20 electric vehicles by 2023. It's now going to be 30 by 2025. And they're increasing their investment from $20 to $27 billion.
Wow. And yet there's no consumer demand for that.
Well, they're going to try and generate it.
It's because of regulators is why. I mean, California has said we're not, it's going to have to be EV in 2035. There are countries that are even shorter time frames, 2030. Is that what's going on?
That's certainly a big part of it.
Yeah.
Especially in China and in Europe, the regulations pushing for more EVs, are a lot stronger than what we have here. And so, in order to be able to compete globally, they've got to develop these EVs anyway. And, if they're going to develop them and put in production capacity, they want to get as much scale as they can to get the cost down. So they're trying to sell as many as they possibly can in as many markets as they can.
I understand that.
The other part of it, of course, is trying to create vehicles that are going to be more compelling to consumers, so that regardless of whether it's whatever the powertrain is, they want to develop products that people actually want. And that's where Tesla, has done some good things, is creating high performance vehicles that have a lot of tech, that are compelling despite being electric, because that's not necessarily what most consumers were interested in. And so now to really expand the market, they've got to really, really move farther down that path.
I love electric. Ever since I got a Tesla, we have a Chevy Bolt. Lisa loves that. I'm looking forward to the Mach-E. But that's not what you're here to talk about. I see a big old chip over your shoulder.
Yeah, so with all the discussion,
not on your shoulder, a chip over your shoulder, microprocessor.
This past couple of weeks about the Apple M1 chip.
Yeah.
There was an announcement last week that Hyundai Motor Group, South Korean manufacturer that owns the Hyundai, Kia, and Genesis brands, it has decided to use NVIDIA's Parker system on a chip for all of their forthcoming vehicles. They've already started with the new Genesis G80 and GV80 to power the infotainment system. And I was just driving the G80 last week, and it's got this beautiful 14.5-inch display, across the middle of the dashboard, really pretty graphics, and it's got this NVIDIA Parker SoC in there, but you've been talking about how great this Apple M1 chip is, and it certainly seems like it is, and I was thinking that Microsoft has been messing around with Qualcomm chips for some ARM computers, but I'm surprised that nobody has gone to NVIDIA, because NVIDIA's got some amazing SoCs, and they're
about to buy ARM, so that will be an interesting play.
Yeah, the Parker, that they're using for the infotainment is an older design, but they have a newer chip called Xavier that has first went into some production vehicles starting this year, a couple of models in China, and we're going to see it on the Lucid Air next year, powering their driver assistance systems. And this is a really impressive chip. This chip does 30 trillion operations per second.
Yikes!
That's the one that's in the picture there.
Yeah.
Like the Apple M1, it has 8 ARM cores in it.
Wow.
It has an NVIDIA Volta GPU in there with 512 cores.
Wow.
It's got tensor cores for machine learning, and the Parker is similar, but it's older and less powerful and a little bit slower. But it's got machine learning cores in there. You've got there's 10 gigabit per second Ethernet bus in there, all the image processing to take in the sensor data and process the images. And just imagine what somebody could do if they stuck that into a laptop computer.
Yeah. Well, but this is where the world is headed, which is custom silicon designed specifically for the tasks it'll be doing. I think it's an exciting time. I mean, computing's been an exciting time for 20 years. That's why I'm doing what I do. But it's it's getting more exciting all the time. And these custom chips for automobiles, what will that enable? What will that make possible? Having a smart chip in your car.
Yeah. In the case of the Parker chip that's powering the Hyundai stuff, it's also being used by Mercedes-Benz in their latest infotainment called MBUX. They're using it to power much more advanced voice recognition systems. They're doing natural language processing. It's also, obviously much more advanced graphics for the infotainment system. You can see on the screen behind me, very high resolution screens, very, very responsive. One of the complaints in the past with a lot of the screens, has been low resolution. They're slow when you swipe across them. That they don't respond very quickly. This is a much more responsive chip. The Parker, as I said, is an older one. It does about 1.5 trillion operations per second. The Xavier, which they're going to use for driver assistance systems and partially automated systems,
that's
is 30 teraops.
Yeah, I mean the stuff that you do that's not self-driving. Any old chip can do that, right? Monitor your gas and your ignition and your injections and stuff like that. Yeah. Injection.
But like I said, the Xavier, is going to be doing, partially automated driving. It's already doing that on a couple of models in China, and it'll be doing more over the next year or so. It's coming to a bunch of different vehicles, and there's and these chips, as I said, have a lot of machine learning cores in there, the neural cores, a lot of input and output, and very high speed memory bus in there as well.
Wow. Kind of amazing. And that's really the story of technology and computing specifically, is computing migrating to be in everything we do, from our cars to our toasters, and computing at the edge and intelligence at the edge. It's very exciting. What about communications? I mean, we're running out of time. We'll have to save the 5G part of this for later. Sam Abuelsamid, Guidehouse Insights. His podcast is at wheelbearings.media. He joins us every week to talk about vehicles. Thank you, Sam.
Always a pleasure, Leo.
Pretty exciting. Pretty amazing. I'm not really that excited about a self-driving vehicle, though, I have to say. Although I guess I've got that new whatever they call it.
You're gonna have the active drive assist when it comes out, when the OTA update comes out next summer.
It's a firmware upgrade. And they're going to charge for that, right?
No, it's standard on yours.
Oh, good.
On the Mach-E, only the base. It's optional on the base version. It's going to be standard on all the other trim levels. So yours is going to have it standard. So you're paying for it. You're just not paying.
I paid for it. Yeah. But when I compared the price of the Mach-E, especially because I get the $7,500 tax rebate, to what I paid for a Tesla, it's not that. It's pretty economical compared to a Tesla.
Oh yeah,
it's about half what my Model X.
I mean, it won't quite. It won't beat the Model X in a drag race.
I'm not drag racing. In fact, I told you this.
Very few people are.
I got the insane. I didn't get ludicrous. I got insane mode, but I only used it a few times because I almost passed out every time. So I just thought, this is dangerous.
I think you'll find this one plenty quick enough.
Oh, I'm going to be happy. I know I am.
I'll be shooting a bunch of video with it tomorrow, and I'll send that over for Anthony to cut together for a hands-on test.
So you're allowed to send it to like us as long as we embargo it.
We just can't publish it until the embargo.
So maybe I'll visit some of that footage.
Yeah.
I'm pretty darn exciting. I really am.
Yeah, it should be fun.
Yeah.
They're doing the drive program is being staged out of the American Center for Mobility, which is about 15 minutes away from me here.
That's
which
nice.
Is that's at Willow Run Airport, that's the place where back in World War II Ford built the bomber plant that was turning out one B-24 every 60 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
the bomber plant's gone now, but when they tore down the factory a few years ago, they built this test track there for automated and connected vehicles.
Wow. The story of Ford is kind of amazing. I was really glad we got to go out to the Rouge River plant and see that and see the history there. That was really, really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, all these big manufacturing companies, when you look at what they, all the things you have to orchestrate to build a car, or to build an airplane, thousands of suppliers feeding parts in through the supply chain into a factory, putting all those parts together in the right sequence, getting everything tightened down properly. I mean, it's an amazing feat.
It really is.
You can build one of these correctly, and let alone, like at the Rouge, they're doing an F-150 every 56 seconds.
Wow. So I looked at it's the week of the November 22nd. So it could be any time this week. But on the other hand, since Thanksgiving is Thursday, it's likely to be Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. I'm sure they closed the line down for Thanksgiving.
I'm not sure because the plant is in Mexico, so I'm not sure what their production schedule is.
Yeah, they
there.
probably make them work all the time. Yeah. I'm excited. So am I going to get pictures of the car being made and coming off the line or anything like that? Do you know?
I don't know. I can ask tomorrow.
Tell him Leo wants to see his car.
I will do that.
Leo wants to see his car. He'll make a big deal about it. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sam.
All right.
Are you going to see Darren when you're out there, do you think?
I don't know. I mean, they're because of the COVID stuff, they're keeping the number of subject matter experts fairly limited.
Yeah.
And mostly, if people want to interview anybody, they're setting up separate calls for that.
Yeah.
They don't want to expose any more people than necessary.
No. Makes sense.
In the old days, for drives, we used to pair up. We'd have usually a 4-hour drive loop.
Not anymore.
And we would pair up with somebody else and then switch halfway through.
Yeah.
Now we're all driving solo. So.
All right, Sam. Have a great week.
All right, you too.
Have a great Thanksgiving. Take care.
Yeah, I will. You too.
Leo Laporte, the tech guy. These hips gotta lie. Back. Leonard. I almost said Leonard. Leonard in San Diego is next.
You want.
Hey, Leonardo.
You want to call me?
Hi, Leonard. How are you?
I've been listening to you when you were on Regis and Kathy Lee.
Oh yeah, the good old days. Yeah.
You're very informative. Saturdays and Sundays, I try to get time to listen to you.
I know it's a lot of hours. That's a lot of work, but I appreciate it. Thank you.
I had an HTC phone. I had it for 6 years.
Loved those.
I couldn't get a battery for it.
Yeah.
And I remembered Leo always talked about the Moto, and I went into the store and I says, what do you have a Moto? So I bought a Moto G7.
Oh, nice. You got one of the latest ones. Nice.
The 5,000 battery. I have no problem with it. I'm on a phone now.
That battery's got to go forever. 5,000 milliamp hours is huge for a phone.
Yeah, I pay $300. No problem.
Isn't that amazing?
I have a problem on it.
Uh-oh.
I don't have NFC on this. Now, with the COVID on there, I have Google Pay, but I can't use it because I can't do the tap.
Darn nation.
Groceries. I can't do the tap when the grocery store or whatever. So I need Leo to tell me
I need the tap.
Do on here.
He needs the tap. Yeah.
No, I need NFC. The NFC.
Yeah.
I don't have NFC on
it's
here.
touchless pay. And that's how they save some money. It wasn't $1,000 phone, it's $300 phone. So they save a little money by leaving things out. I can't believe they left out NFC. That seems like, especially with Google Pay, a big deal. Well, you can't add NFC to the phone, but you could, if you wanted to, get an Android Wear watch with NFC, and it would communicate with the phone. Your Google Pay would be in the watch. That's what I do with my Apple Watch, and then you don't have to touch anything. You just hover it over the terminal, and it goes, ping, you've paid. So that's one way to do it. And the chat room's saying, and I didn't know this, your bank may offer an NFC key fob for touchless pay. So you might contact your bank or... Go ahead.
I have my card on here. my credit card on here from my bank.
Right.
That's why I got Google Pay.
I understand.
So it comes up.
Yeah.
It comes up on it, but I can't do the NFC.
No, I understand.
It doesn't have the chip.
Yeah. So you need something with NFC. So I'm going to give you 3 ways you could do that. One is you could actually order that card with NFC. Most credit card companies will offer that. Then you just...
I have it.
Yeah, so you wave the card over the touch to pay thing.
I don't want to... No, because if I do Google Pay, it's the same thing like Apple Pay. It's encrypted. My name, my number.
Yeah, you want the privacy. Yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah.
The same thing with the Apple card. It never shows up with another number.
How long ago did you buy that Moto?
About 2 years ago.
Would you be? I mean, you could. I know you could get the newer one. You can get a newer one with NFC in it. That would be. Who knew though? 2 years ago, that we'd be so anxious to have contactless payment, right?
You're correct.
Yeah, but now we want it, and it is. You're absolutely right. One of the advantages of Google Pay. The other thing that's going on with Google Pay is Google Pay's turning it into a bank. Google's turning it into a bank, so they will have
next year.
Yeah. So that's going to be really interesting. Well, you're up on all this. I can't tell you anything new. So here's the thing: nothing to do with that. That phone can't be
Apple Pay.
Right, but that
Apple
phone
Pay is the same thing. You tap it, and that's it. You walk away. You get the check, and you don't have to use any coins or anything.
I know. I love it. I use it. I use it all the time. Yep.
Oh, you do have it? Okay.
Yeah, I use it all the time. Now, here's the thing.
What do I have to do now?
Well, you can't add NFC to a phone. So you either get a new phone if you really want NFC in your phone, or you get a device that has an NFC chip in it. NFC, near field communications, is the thing that allows this contactless pay. It doesn't have to touch the screen or the reader. It just has to hover within an inch of it, and it goes, oh!
Where do I get that?
So
where do I get that?
There are three ways you can do this. If you don't want to buy a new phone, that would be the fourth way. Your credit card, as you know, already has it, and I believe that most of the privacy features are in your credit card. You could ask your credit card company. Do you see? One of the reasons people love this Google Pay and Apple Pay is instead of saying, "Oh, this is Leonard. He lives at 123 Main Street," and all that stuff, and giving that to the merchant, it gives the merchant a token, an encrypted token, that the merchant can use to charge you without any knowledge of who you are or your address or your phone number, of any of that stuff. It's secure. It's really secure. Merchants, want that information. It's one of the reasons you may remember when Apple Pay first came out, a number of companies said, I think Rite Aid, and said, we're not going to take that because they want your information. That's valuable. They want your name, address, and phone number. Now, we're not going to take that. But you know what? The system they came up with was so fakatka that they gave up. And everybody supports Google Pay and Apple Pay now. That's the good news. So your credit card may have many of those features. Inquire. Your credit card company may offer a little dongle with the NFC in it, a little thing you carry on your keychain that does the same thing. Inquire. Or, and this might be the best choice for you, just like you can use an Apple Watch to do Apple Pay, as long as your phone is, set up for that, you can get an Android Wear Watch to do Google Pay. Same idea. You tap it or hover it on the device, and that gives you all the security of Google Pay. In fact, when you get your Android Wear Watch, you'll pair it to your existing G7, and it will get the Google Pay information from the G7. So the easiest way to do this is go to the Google Store, store.google.com, and you want to make sure that it supports Google Pay, because the problem with Android Wear is they let a lot of people do Android Wear watches. Fossil does them. A lot of companies do them, but they also were pretty loose in the specs. So I don't know for a fact, but I wouldn't be surprised if there are Android Wear watches that don't support NFC. So you want to make sure you get one that supports Google Pay. But NFC is what you're looking for, or Google Pay is what you're looking for, and you can do it in a smartwatch. Let's see, who do we like? The Wyze Fitness Watch, that's a very inexpensive, $25 according to Captain J. Now, see, I like Wyze, WYZE.com, and he says the Wyze Fitness Watch supports Google Pay. I would check. I would check to make sure before you, but $25, that's a good deal. So the Android Wear watches are pretty flexible. Fossil makes a bunch of them. Casio now makes some Android Wear watches. So just when you look at the watch, just make sure that one of the features is Google Pay. Boy, I think you can't beat the price for let me look at this Wise watch. That's pretty cool. It's a lot of these are what they call fitness watches, but it doesn't mean you have to be fit to use them. Let me see. Wise, WYZE, the Wise Band, they call it. And it has Amazon's Echo built in. It actually encourages you to exercise. I'm looking for that key though, the Google Pay feature. At the price, I think it's pretty good. Fitness tracker, sleep tracker. Leonard, give that. That's another way to do it. And you could get a new phone. I mean, it seems like a waste if you're very happy with that. It seems surprising that the Wise Band would do this. How do I get rid of this? There we go. Wise Band Google Pay. That's what you probably want to do, is just Google Wise Band, like I'm going to do right now, Google Pay, and we'll know if it supports it. Well, I don't know. I don't want to spend a lot of time doing that, but there certainly are a variety of devices that will do this. I love it. I use my Apple Watch for that, and it's the same idea. You have to have the phone. You have to set it up with the credit cards, and then you copies them over to the watch. And then, by the way, after that, you can use the watch by itself if you unlock it, so you don't have to bring your watch with you everywhere. I think it's a really great way to pay. It's how I do it all the time. Oh, I've run out of time. Darn it. Thank you, Leonard. 8888 Ask Leo is the phone number. 888-827-5536. Website techguylabs.com. What do you use for Google Pay? Do you have a watch or a device that you like? You can give us a ring and we can talk about that. 888-827-5536. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. More of your calls. Plus, Chris Marquardt, our photo guy, coming up. Why, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Well, we got stuff to talk about here. Computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smart cars, smart watches, touch to pay, microwave ovens, the download recipes from the internet, all that stuff. 8888 Ask Leo is the phone number. The world is changing around us, and that's what this show is about. The changing world of technology. 888-827-5536. Chris Marquardt's coming up in just a little bit. Our photo guy. What is he going to talk about? He sent me an email. I can tell you. Size. He likes to take a subject and talk about it in terms of your digital photography. So size will be the topic. Next week, we are going to review our assignment. So I don't know if you participate in that. It's kind of fun. Chris will give us a word or an idea or a concept and then give us 4 weeks to go out and take pictures illustrating it this week, or this month, I should say. The assignment has been texture, but you still have another week. You can still submit a picture. Just go out. You don't have to have a fancy phone. Your camera phone will be just fine. But what we're looking for is how you express the concept, the idea of texture in a unique and exciting and interesting way. Chris will pick 3 photos to talk about next week. Now, the way you get those photos to Chris is on our photo sharing site, Flickr. We love Flickr, flickr.com. It's free. Once you, if you're not already a member, join. It used to be Yahoo. Remember that? And then Yahoo sold it to Verizon. The Verizon sold it to SmugMug. But that's actually a good company to be in charge of it because they're real photo aficionados. I'm glad they bought Flickr because I want to keep it alive, and it's a great site. We have a tech guy group on there. You'll know you're in the right place. I think there's 13,000 members, something like that. It's really active, really fun group. So join the Tech Guy group and then submit your photo illustrating the word or idea texture. Put the tag TG texture in there so we know it's for the Tech Guy group. And it's your texture submission. TG for Tech Guy texture. 8888 Ask Leo, the phone number. Will is on the line from Denver, Colorado. He's next. Hi, Will. Welcome. What can I do for you?
Staying up with technology over all these years.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm glad you listen.
I've been doing computer stuff since 1965.
Holy cow!
Holy cow is right. But I no longer can keep up with everything, and I think it's amazing that you can.
Well,
so
you've seen a lot of changes in all that time. What is that? 55 years. That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, my question is, I won't bore you with all that anymore.
Oh no, it doesn't bore me. I'm fascinated. We just have limited time. I would love to hear the whole thing. What were you working at IBM? Where were you working?
I was working. First machine was an IBM 1620.
Yep.
And I mainly over my career wrote technical programs. Wrote them in Fortran, although I've done other languages too. But anyway, and I think you mentioned Emacs the other day. I used Emacs in about 1982 to code for a North Star mini computer.
Yeah, I had a North Star, one of the early North Star. I had an Advantage running CP/M, not you probably were running Unix at that point, but those were the days.
We were running CP/M.
CP/M?
Oh, wait a minute. I'm not sure. I have to think about that. We might have been running CP/M. My home machine ran CP/M.
Yeah. No, the early North Star were S100 bus computers running CP/M.
Yeah.
That was high end, man. That was the latest greatest stuff. And it must have been fun coming from a mainframe to a micro like that to have that in your house. That's amazing.
It was wonderful.
Yeah.
It was fabulous.
Yeah. Well, someday we'll spend some time. We'll sit down and have a cold one, and I'd love to hear the stories because, Fortran's still pretty active. It's still around. In fact, it's still used as the basis for some high-end stuff like mathematics and physics analysis. It's still the back end for that stuff. It's kind of amazing how long Fortran has survived. Yeah. Well, what can I do for you in your quest to stay up on high technology?
Okay. My question is, I am ready to spring for a Mac Mini M1.
Oh boy!
I do photos, and I want my photos to look at least as good as they did on my 2011 iMac, which was beautiful.
Now, was that a 5K? No, 2011 they didn't have the 5Ks.
No.
So the screen obviously isn't going to be as big. It's a 13-inch screen. But I would venture... Oh, actually, you don't have a screen. You're getting a mini. What am I...
A mini.
Yeah, that's right. So you get to choose whatever you want.
Monitor.
Yeah.
Which monitor should I get?
Well, Apple makes a very expensive one that it will support, which is the Pro Display XDR. I would not recommend that unless you have $5,000 burning a hole in your pocket.
I can't afford it.
But I think there are a lot of very good external displays. That Mac Mini supports HDMI out, so you'll be able to drive a whole variety of displays. It also has Thunderbolt out, but it's only got 2 Thunderbolt ports, so you'll be able to drive a whole bunch of different displays. I would look at, in terms of bang for your buck, Dell makes a number of very nice monitors. They make kind of the consumer-grade monitors in the $200, $300 range, and then they have their high-end Ultra Sharps, which I think will compete very well with your experience with your 2011 iMac. So,
okay.
And I would say get the biggest screen you can afford. Here's the good news. The 27-inch Ultra Sharp is $359. They're not hugely expensive.
That's wonderfully within my budget.
Yes. Yeah. Now, you can go bigger. My wife has the 49-inch, which is basically your arm's span. But she runs the business, so she's got a lot of financial analysis stuff to do. She's got spreadsheets open and websites and all sorts of stuff and fills that screen up horizontally. That's a little more expensive. That's $1,300. It's a beautiful monitor. But I would look at the 27-inch Ultra Sharp. That's the same size roughly as your 2011 iMac. And I would venture, Apple's very careful with their monitors even back then, so they calibrated them and stuff. But the Dell high-end monitors are very, very good. I think they're great.
That's great. I appreciate your recommendation, and And good talking to you.
Let me know how you like your M1. I'd love to hear you. Mine comes on tomorrow. It's at the I could see it practically. It's at the UPS depot right now.
Right.
But what will come up for you, and it's going to come up for me. First of all, you're getting probably the fastest, mass production chip on the market today. Just a remarkable piece of engineering, and I'm sure you've read the pieces on that. But don't forget, we're moving the Apple platform from Intel to this new Apple Silicon. So there are going to be compatibility issues, especially with high-end stuff. I mean, if you were using Fortran 77, your compiler will not be yet up to date. But if you're using the mainstream stuff like Microsoft Office, they're making a beta version already for it. All the Apple stuff will be modified to work with it, and everything I've seen, the performance on this thing is mind-blowing. Yeah, I think you're going to enjoy it.
I will be using Affinity Photo.
Perfect.
Primarily.
Oh, that's right. You said photography. And yeah, Affinity has been modified. That's the one I'm going to use. And Darkroom is also M1 enabled now. That's exactly what I'm going to use. And of course, Adobe's moving along very quickly. Photoshop's already in beta. Lightroom will be out soon. I think that photographers are going to be well served immediately because that's such a big market for Apple.
I think so, too.
Yeah.
And by the way, I'm jealous of your new Mustang because I had a 65 Mustang.
Oh, now I'm jealous.
Picture the original.
I remember those beauties.
Mine was gray, but it looks nothing like yours.
Those bucket seats. Well, I had a Mustang. I bought a Mustang about 10 years ago, GT 5.0. Loved it. But as I got older, it got harder to get into and out of. It's pretty low slung in those bucket seats. I thought I'm going to get something that's a little easier to get into and out of. And nowadays, these electric cars have as much pickup because they have so much torque from zero that they really are as fun to drive, I think, as the old Mustangs were. And they have a recording, apparently, that you can choose that will go like your old Mustang did, even though it's a completely silent electric motor. Hey, a pleasure talking to you.
And with you, Leo. Take care.
My pleasure, Will. Enjoy your new computer. I'm jealous. 88. Actually, I'm not that jealous. I'm getting one, too. I'm getting the MacBook Pro 13-inch. That's what for some reason, that's what I thought he was getting because I had it in my mind. But, of course, the Mac Mini's nice. It's the most affordable Mac, $600, a little more. And you choose the keyboard, mouse, and monitor you like. So you really can make the machine yours and still get the benefit of that processor. Emmerich's reminding me you could, if you still had that 2011 iMac, use it as a display. That's a good point. If you really like that display, you could just use that. 8888 Ask Leo, the phone number, if you want to talk high tech. That's what we're doing here. It's kind of a show for enthusiasts. Yeah, target display mode. So you can use the some iMacs, those in particular, as a display. You have to put it into target display mode. Just like target disk mode, which has gone away. Let me see this target display mode. Yeah, there's quite a few articles about how to do this. TDM. Target display mode. So you use a Thunderbolt 2 cable or Thunderbolt 2 adapter, I guess you'd need for that old iMac. You have to be using High Sierra or earlier. Connect the Thunderbolt cable to the Thunderbolt ports on each Mac. Press and hold Command F2 on the keyboard on the iMac. How interesting. Command F2. Leo Laporte. Woo! the tech guy, 8888. Ask Leo the phone number. Jeff in Munfordville, Kentucky. Hello, Jeff.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm great. How are things in Munfordville?
It's quiet.
That's good. That's how you like it, right?
Yes, very much.
What can I do for you today?
Well, I've got a ViewSonic 21-inch LED monitor.
Mm-hmm.
And what's happening is when I would come in to wake the computer up and move the mouse to wake it up, the monitor would hesitate to come on. It would take like 30 seconds. It would like flicker and take its time coming on. And I'm wondering if it's the computer or if it's the monitor getting ready to go out or what's...
It's a HDMI connection, yes?
It's, no, it's just a regular monitor connection.
Ah, okay. Because HDMI, that's not unusual. There's a handshaking that goes on as the computer and the monitor discuss what the best refresh rate and resolution are. But if it's not HDMI, it's when you say regular, is it a digital connection? What is the connection? Do you know?
Well, it's I'm not much of a tech guy, but it's
I'm trying to remember
basic monitor plug.
what ViewSonic. Yeah, it could be VGA, and it could be DVI. I'm just not sure, depending on your monitor. How old is it?
I'm not real sure. I bought this computer custom built.
Okay.
And it was shipped to me, so I'm not sure exactly the age of it.
Yeah. So most of these monitors, these are kind of older monitors, but most of them had both digital and analog ports. The DVI, if you look at the plug on the back of the computer, had many, many more pins, and then the VGA. So it was a larger connector. I'm guessing you're probably on digital. The flickering, and I don't really remember offhand if in the old days if DVI did this handshaking. I wouldn't be surprised, but this is something that started recently.
Yes, and what I've done is, because it was do that, I've taken my computer off sleep mode, so my monitor stays on all the time. Is that bad?
No, not at all. LED.
I was afraid it wouldn't wake back up.
Yeah, not a bad idea. I mean, you might look at replacing the cable. Sometimes that could be the cause. If you moved something near the cable, that could create some radio interference. So make sure you don't have a power brick next to it. Kind of clear everything away from the cable, but about 6 inches. It doesn't have to be feet away, but just 6 inches or more. It really attenuates quickly. But putting a power brick right next to the cable could do that.
Okay.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, the chat room's saying no. There's no handshake with DVI. It's just straight through. So that wouldn't be the cause of the flicker. You see that on HDMI. It's not at all unusual. But yours just started, and you're using probably DVI. So it could be a sign that the monitor is starting to fail. But the first thing to do is just see if a new cable fixes it, or make sure there's no interference on the cable, because the cable that's the thing that's more likely to fail than anything else.
Okay.
The monitor otherwise looks fine. It's the light's bright as it used to be, and all of that.
Oh yeah, the monitor works perfectly fine when it before it started. Had that problem, but
yeah.
When it's on, it works fine. No problem.
And you're using Windows 10?
Yes.
Okay. You might want to check to see if there's updated video drivers. The video card, it could also be the video card. The video card itself could be causing that flickering.
Okay.
And it could be just, when Windows 10 got on there, and now there's a little bit more of a, negotiation on the refresh rate. Make sure you've got all the proper settings for that ViewSonic. Go and look at the display driver. Make sure it's a ViewSonic display that it says, in your device manager. Things like that.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I think leaving it on is fine. It doesn't need to sleep. It won't burn in. So I think that's, and it uses more power. That's about the only concern. You're going to use some more juice. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Well, I appreciate the help.
Sorry I couldn't fix it, but it's a little, sometimes, these things, it's hard to, unless I'm sitting right next to it, it's hard to mess around with it. I can only give you some ideas of what it might be, what might be going on. I guess that's it. That's about all I have to say on that subject. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Chris Marquardt, our photo guy. Hello, Chris Marquardt.
Hey, how are you today?
My personal photo sensei at sensei.photo. I have your email. Today we want to, Chris has been for the last few weeks, and I'm really enjoying it, taking specific topics in photography and illustrating them and talking about them. And I like breaking it down like that because I find it hard to think about everything I need to do when I'm taking pictures. It's like, I got to remember this and that and that. But if I do one at a time, it's a little bit easier. In this case, let's talk about size.
Yeah, there are so many different areas of photography, and it's really easier if you concentrate on them one by one, and if you look at them one by one. So today's size, and the question is, does size matter in photography? You remember there's many photo teachers who tell you that you should fill the frame. That filling the frame is kind of the key thing in photography to make everything. I don't know, to make a picture more appealing. So today I wanted to talk about why that might not really be necessary, and let me break this down in a bit of a structured way. So we have small things in photos and we have big things in photos, right? And then let's just look at the small ones. We have things that are small in reality, and of course you have now the choice how you show them in the frame. Do you show them small in the frame or do you show them big in the frame? So what does that do to the viewer? So I've sent you some pictures to show, and you can just slowly go through
so
them.
this ladybug on a stalk of grass, it's a small thing, and if you shoot it full to fill the frame, it's going to be a big thing, and it's kind of untrue to the experience of a ladybug, right?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, how does the viewer know if something is really small? Of course, experience. You will know that bug is small. The same with the next picture. It's a small bug. But also, if you look at something in the frame that has been photographed, you will also notice that the depth of field, the way the picture goes out of focus, really shortly behind what you're shooting. That's something we've learned, that is a small thing. Shallow depth of field. It signifies that someone is probably using a macro lens. And of course, you have the choice to shoot it that way, to leave a lot of space around it. We call that negative space that's not the subject. Or if you go to the next photo, we have not that much space around it. And then it's a big, small thing. But again, you get this depth of field. You get the way the sharpness works in the photo. And you notice that is not a big thing. It's even though it fills the frame, but it doesn't have to.
But what's interesting about when you get these macro pictures, like this one of a ladybug, is you are seeing it in an unnatural way. You wouldn't see the ladybug that closely, that detailed. So it's interesting. It's almost
that makes it interesting.
Scientifically interesting, yeah. But it's also a little odd. It's a little creepy.
It kind of is.
Yeah.
But then if we go to the next step let's look at big things that are big in reality, and then again you have the choice. Do you want to show those big in the frame, or you want to show those small in the frame? So maybe showing something big, very small in the frame, again, is kind of the opposite of that,
love
right?
These
you
elephants.
have a big frame with lots of space, but just tiny little elephants in there, and then how do you get them bigger in the frame? Well, you could get it closer.
Zoom in. But
zoom in. I think with elephants, it's probably better to zoom than to walk closer.
Yeah. If you're on safari and you've got a hippo and 2 elephants, you're probably not going to get any closer than this. But that's
again,
why,
how do you know it's big?
Right. Look at all the grass.
Sorry, how do you know it's big? It's an elephant. I mean, we know elephants are big, so
you don't need
the experience works in our favor here. Yeah. But now let's get to the next step, and that is the relation between small and big things. If you have something in the picture that is small, and in the same picture you have something that is big, then you would look for hints to kind of understand what is what is bigger, what is smaller, and is it really bigger or is it just closer? So if you go to the next frame, if you understand that 2 things are at the same distance in the frame, then telling them apart in terms of size is very easy, right? It's obvious. It's very
Here's
obvious.
a giant dictionary, which probably has every word in the English language in it, along with a little paperback. And the size discrepancy is vast, but that makes this almost a comedic picture.
But it makes it also obvious, like there is no shenanigans going on. It's just
no shenanigans.
A small book lying on a small book.
Yeah.
But if you have things at different distances, of course, it's not so easy. In this picture, it's kind of easy because you can see the road and there's a motorbike in the front and an elephant in the back. Let's stick with elephants for a second here. But if you look at the actual number of like inches on that frame, that motorbike and the people are on the 2D picture are bigger than the elephant.
Yeah.
Right? If you measure them with a tape measure, then the elephant
That's because they're in the foreground, the elephant's in the background. And so it's basically at a distance at the same size or a little bit smaller than the people. But we know how big an elephant is, so this doesn't fool us.
This doesn't fool us, but then people use that those size discrepancies at different distances by doing what's called forced perspective. And now things start to get into this gray area where you have someone close to the camera holding, like, you know, those pictures of someone holding the sun in their hands or the moon in their hands.
Or the Leaning Tower of Pisa,
against,
holding up the Leaning Tower of Pisa. Yeah.
That's exactly the right example. Here, someone's just pushing their finger against someone's hands, and that one person is in the background and it's small. So
how do you shoot this? Just because I want to do some of these. I love this idea. So, you know, there's probably Dad in the foreground with his big arm and his big hand, and then the kids at the end of the dock on the lake at a distance. Kid's holding his arm up, and because Dad's positioned his finger just so, it looks like the kid's hanging on. A little kid is hanging on to his dad's finger. It's really a fun
patience
picture
to do these.
Yeah, how do you
do it?
You
need patience and a lot of tries because it's not that easy to align those. And you'll if you want to do it perfect, you need some maybe someone to direct it, and of course take lots of shots and play with these things. I mean, that's a really playful way to explore sizes.
Here's another one
photos.
where the guy it looks like he's a giant picking up his car.
Yeah.
Giant hand.
By the way, these kind of photos are easier to do with a small sensor. So those are easier to do with a smartphone than with a big sensor.
Why
because
is that?
The bigger sensors, they have shallow depth of field. So you have like the hand more out of focus, and then it's kind of obvious that it's not at the same plane as the
In order to get this to work, you'd have to have the car, which is distant, in the same focus as the hand, which is near the camera. So this one with a camera phone or a point and shoot would be a lot easier.
Smaller sensor is better for these kind of photos because it has more depth of field, and then everything is kind of at the same focus.
Yeah. Oh, it's fun. So I guess this is a fun thing just to play with, right? Just to see, you know, what you can do. Yeah. You can make it funny. You can make it
explore sizes, relations of things in photos. It's always worth doing.
Our assignment this week is texture. As I mentioned earlier, we're going to do one more week. So you have one more chance to submit to the Tech Guy group on Flickr. Make sure you tag it TG Texture so we know it's your submission. Renee Silverman, our moderator, will welcome you in. And then next week, Chris, you're going to pick 3 and we'll talk about it. It's kind of the crazy thing we do, talking about pictures on the radio. but it's all about getting more pictures, taking pictures, getting better at photography, because nowadays almost everybody has a great camera in their pocket, their smartphone, and we're seeing so many wonderful images these days. You can use your smartphone, take a picture of texture. Thank you, Chris. Sensei.photo.
Thank you, Leo.
Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. Was it okay on your end? Was there sound issues or something? Seemed like I was throwing you a little bit. Oh, good. Okay. All right.
No, might have been, I don't know, some latency. I don't have you on my ear as loud as I used to, so I have to do a bit of fiddling on that side. Okay. Maybe that's why.
Okay. The picture is fantastic. The lip sync is fantastic. Do we adjust that, John, with the URL, right? Yeah.
Yes, you have a sync parameter on the URL, so you have milliseconds to delay the audio.
How do you? So you just try? It's trial and error, basically.
No, it's an experience thing. You can tell pretty quickly if it's too far out.
And it doesn't drift. So if you got a setting, you're probably going to be okay.
So one thing to keep in mind is that the sending computer will have the encoding load, and it's usually CPU. It's not GPU. So the default codec is VP8, which is relatively good on the CPU. But if the sending system has trouble keeping up, then it will start drifting.
Right.
But it will automatically catch itself within, like, I think every 3 or 4 seconds, it kind of resyncs the sync.
That's probably good enough. That's the problem I'm pretty sure we have with Scott. We had to tell him to stop using Chrome in the background because it was eating so much CPU cycle.
Then the VP8 codec, you can switch to H264, which is even easier on the CPU, but then you don't get the same quality over the same bit rate.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. So, but that's one of the issues with this is very programmable. You can't do anything with Skype. What you see is what you get.
It is super flexible.
Yeah.
You also can switch to VP9, which gets like the same quality over half the bit rate, but that is a bit more taxing for the sending computer. So,
all right,
the CPU might get maxed out depending on the system.
Okay.
And then the bitrate, the video bitrate, you can test that locally. I'm just writing an email to John to give him some hints, but you can test locally. You can switch around. You can change the bitrate and just see how low you can go with guests who have a bad connection. How low you can go until it's for it to still be good enough for you visually.
But you can't do that
stuff you can.
Without resetting, right? Each time you have to do the parameters and try again. You can't like fiddle with it while they're on.
Not at this point. That will come in one of the future versions. I think it's probably a couple months out to do it dynamically. But at this point, you tell it. It will still self-adjust. So if there's a hiccup in the the Wi-Fi or something, then you have then the system will kind of self-adjust, but you will see some artifacts, of course. The audio is usually super stable, so
that's most important to me. I really want the good audio.
The audio is the last thing that goes. Yep, video stays. Well, video will go first, and then it'll just throttle down. I think frame rate first, and then if that doesn't help, the second line of defense is dropping the video bit rate quality.
We'll play with that. Yeah, it really looks good and sounds excellent.
But you'd have to have a tech check with Scott for that first. I mean, you have to.
Well, we do that with everybody. We have with everybody we use, we have a pre-call to make sure everything's good.
Sure.
All right,
but it's worth trying. I have a regular show I do that I have guests that come in with 300 kilobits video bit rate, which is super low, but it works. In a pinch.
That'd be nice.
So
thank you, Chris.
You can. All right.
I gotta run. Have a great day. Stay safe.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I feel like it's Samba class. 8888 Ask Leo. Stan is on the line from Victorville, Virginia. Hi, Stan.
Hey, Leo.
Welcome to the show. What can I do for you today?
Yeah, it was Victorville, California.
That makes a lot more sense. I think she typed a V instead of a C. I apologize.
Oh, no problem.
Welcome.
Yes, Leo, I'm having a problem with my subwoofer and my audio-video receiver.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I have a Clips speaker for a 5.2 Sony receiver.
Yeah. So you have is the sub a Klipsch as well?
Yes.
Wow, I didn't know they made subwoofers. Wow. Is it a big old Klipsch horn?
No, it's just a regular square 10-inch.
Oh, this is more modern than the Klipsch horns I'm thinking of, but still, Klipsch are great. So, and you have a connector on the back. There are two different ways you can connect a sub. One is with just a single cable. There's also a cable that will allow you, I think it's called the LFI connector, that will allow you to control the volume of the sub through the sub. But how are you connecting the subwoofer to your AV receiver?
I'm using it's a single input into the receiver.
It says subwoofer on the receiver, right?
Yes, and there's a dual, a red and white into the subwoofer.
Ah. Okay. So what's the problem you're having?
Well, when I'm watching regular TV, I get bass from the subwoofer. But last night I was watching a movie called Act of Valor, a war movie.
Yeah.
And I wasn't getting any bass through all the explosions.
None of the boom. Yeah. You want the boom. Is this a new setup for you, or is this something you've had for a while?
No, it's something I've had for a while.
And you used to get the bass.
Yeah, I used to get the bass. And so what I did was I turned this system off. I went into my bedroom where I also have clipped speakers. And I turned it on in there, and it's plenty bass. It almost ran my wife out the room.
See, honey, that's what war sounds like. Yeah, I wonder if normally with a sub, like I said, there are two kinds of connections you can get off a AV receiver. You have on your AV receiver a single RCA jack, and that should go into a single RCA jack on the sub, not a red and white one. That's left and right. So I'm a little concerned about that. Then there is, and this would even be maybe the better way to do it, an LFE connection, which is designed for low frequency. Are you using the LFE?
It doesn't have an LFE on the subwoofer.
Well, so that's interesting. And I wonder what Klipsch is doing on the subwoofer. Because you shouldn't. The red and white is really designed for speakers, not subs. It's a powered sub, right?
Right.
Okay. And what kind of connections on the back do you have on that Klipsch?
Let's see. As far as
input connections, yeah.
Yeah, it's just a left and right.
Just a left and right. All right.
Yeah, and I've checked all the settings. I checked the phase, which doesn't matter because it's only one subwoofer.
Yeah, So there's a crossover setting, there's a level setting, and there's a phase setting.
Right.
You're saying you've played with the crossover, because what that basically is saying is my main speakers are going to handle everything down to a low frequency, and maybe it's 100 hertz or 50 hertz, and then I want the subwoofer to take over at that 100 hertz or 50 hertz. That's the so-called crossover. That says, when does the subwoofer kick in? And you can mess with that. There are automated setup systems that will do that as well. Maybe Klipsch has software that'll do that. It could, and it's not that the subwoofer is not working, because obviously when you take it in the bedroom, it is working.
Yeah, it's working, because when I'm watching regular TV, it's working.
Yeah. That's, though, coming out of something different, a different supporter, right? Like the TV directly, or?
No, it's coming out of the AV receiver.
You have an AV receiver in the bedroom there, too. Okay.
Yes, same one.
It's the same receiver.
Yes, it's just a different model. It's a Sony 850, and in the man cave, it's a 540. But it's basically the same setup in the back.
So first of all, you ought to have the best receiver in the man cave. Don't you know?
That's true.
That's the first thing you got to fix right there. It may be that sometimes subwoofers take a lot of juice. They're high impedance. They need a lot of amp, and it may be you just need to turn it up louder. Well, actually, no, because it's self-powered, isn't it? It's plugging into the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's not going to be it. And if you turn it up all the way, do you get any bass at all?
Yeah, during regular TV, but not during movies on Netflix.
Ah.
It only doesn't work on Netflix.
Ah. So it's okay. So I went down the wrong rabbit hole entirely. It's working just fine. It's just what you're getting from Netflix isn't triggering it.
Right.
Ah. Okay. Oh, so what we have to do is get the 5.1 sound out of Netflix. And I'm not sure why it's not giving you 5.1 sound. What are you using to play back Netflix?
Well, actually, I'm using the TV. Like, you can turn to a certain channel on the guide to Netflix, and that's how I'm using it.
I wonder.
I can use the TV remote and hit the button that says Netflix and bring it up.
Yeah, it may. So remember that Netflix has different apps for different devices. The one on your TV is different, say, than the one that would be on a Roku or an Apple TV. They write those apps just like you would write them for the phone for those devices. So there's a couple of possibilities. First of all, make sure you're using the highest streaming quality on Netflix, because at low quality, it won't send you the 5.1. It cuts it down to just plain old stereo sound. So that's number one. Make sure you've got the video quality settings turned all the way up. You could try this with a different kind of device like a Roku. The Roku will output 5.1. I don't know about the TV. That may be something going on with the TV, that it just doesn't decode the Dolby audio stream it's getting from Netflix into 5 discrete channels. It might just be left and right. And then, of course, you wouldn't hear the sub. You wouldn't hear the center channel. You'd just hear your left and right speakers. So that's probably what's going on. And it could be software, it could be hardware, it could be the TV. You want to make sure that because Netflix does support that 5.1 sound. The 0.1 is the sub. It does support that. In fact, I get my subwoofer. I can rattle the walls when I'm watching Netflix. But you have to make sure that the app on your TV is doing it. Make sure it's turned up all the way to the highest quality you can support. You also have to make sure that, let's see, what else? How are you feeding the AV receiver? Are you using the ARC out?
Yes, I'm using the ARC.
Yeah.
From the TV to the AV. Yes.
Yeah. So the other thing you might try, this might actually fix it. Most TVs. The easiest way is to use ARC, which is the audio return channel. So coming in through the HDMI, you've got the signal coming out, you've got the audio so that the receiver can distribute it. The receivers, look on the receiver too to see if you're getting 5.1. You may not be. If you're not, then try using an optical cable. Your TV may have most TVs do have optical out, which would go into your AV receiver as its TV audio. And that might give you the full 5.1. You're not getting the 5.1, I would guess. Look on the receiver, see if you're getting stereo sound or 5.1. When it shows the source underneath it, it should say, what am I getting for audio from that source? And if it's not saying 5.1, that's the problem. That's what you need to solve. So there's a bunch of things for you to do. But I don't blame you. When you're watching a good war film, you want the walls to rattle. When we were in Hawaii, we got a Hawaii canoe paddle, which is hanging on the wall. And I keep meaning, it's really annoying. It rattles like crazy. That's how I know my sub's working. When I really get a low signal, I hear brrr as the canoe paddle rattles against the wall. That's my test. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smartwatches, all that jazz. 8888 Ask Leo. That's my phone number, 888-827-5536. Toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. Outside that area, you can still call. Just use Skype out, something that can call a phone number from your computer, and it shouldn't cost you anything. 8888 Ask Leo. Everything we talk about, all the links, all the answers, go to the website, techguylabs.com. No charge. No charge, just to techguylabs.com. There's no sign up. You can get all the information you need. There's even audio and video from all the past shows, all 1,748 shows up there. I don't think actually we go back to the beginning. We didn't even do video in the earliest days. But I think you should be able to find audio for all the shows there. techguylabs.com. Yeah, started doing the Tech Guy show in 2004, but I started doing this whole idea of computer call-in in 92. And at that time, it was Windows 3.0. But it was this week, 35 years ago, that Microsoft replaced its MS-DOS operating system. Sorry, bad choice. Didn't replace it. Amended it, added to it with something called Windows. Windows 1.0 came out November 20th, 1985. And Windows 1.0, it was not really anything you would want to use. It was graphical, and in fact, it supported a mouse. I think Microsoft, even before that, supported a mouse with Microsoft Word, their word processor. So they knew all about mice, at the time. And, of course, the Macintosh came out in 1 year earlier, in 1984. So the mouse computing was not new, but still, this was really, I think, Microsoft's response to the Macintosh computer. Windows, a mouse. It was really a shell on top of DOS. In fact, for the longest time, Windows wasn't really an operating system. It was just a user interface on top of MS-DOS. Yeah, when did that change? Was it 3.1? That's when Windows really started to kick into gear, 3.1. And then, of course, 10 years after that, 1995, 25 years ago, Windows 95 came out. And that's when the Windows era really took off. In 1985, if you wanted to run Windows 1.0, you had to have 2 floppy disks. Yes, it fit on 2 floppy disks. If you attempted to put modern-day Windows on a floppy disk, actually, let me get a calculator out, because I think Windows is now 12 gigabytes, right? So that's 12 billion. Let me see here. That's 12 billion. That's 12 with 9 zeros, right? 12 billion bytes. And a floppy disk in those days had 320,000 bytes. So it would take, that can't be right. Windows 1 required 2 floppy disks. Windows 10, today's Windows 10, would require 37,500 floppy disks. You needed 256 kilobytes of memory in 1985, and that was a lot in 1985. Nowadays, you could get by with 4 gigabytes, but you'd really like more than that. Let's see, 4 billion divided by 256,000, memory is 1,562 times bigger. It would help if you had a graphics card, but I guess you had to, didn't you? Because in those days, there was no motherboard graphics, no built-in graphics. Graphics was something pretty special. DOS was just text on a screen, green text on a black screen, or amber if you were fancy, amber text on a black screen. There were no graphics, so you'd need a graphics card. The great-great-great-great-grandfather of modern GPUs. Now, if you wanted to run more than one program in Windows 1.0, you needed a hard drive and, oh, wow, a very expensive 512 kilobytes of memory. 512, that's half a megabyte of memory. Wow. We've come a long way in 35 years. And, in one respect, 35 years, that's a long time. Yet, it's not that long in the general scheme of things. What do you think computing will be like 35 years from now? Will we be laughing? We're saying, you remember Windows 10? You needed 12 gigabytes of storage? People were getting by with 16 gigabytes of RAM. Gigabytes, get that. I don't think things will change quite so fast in the next 35 years. This first 35 years of personal computing has been a big, fast change. Anyway, it's fun to speculate. I don't know. I don't even know if we'll get those self-driving cars in 35 years. They seem to be lagging a little bit. On the line with us next, Dennis from Escondido, California. Hello, Dennis. Welcome.
Hey, Leo. How you doing?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm well, thank you very much. I've got a Mac I bought in 2011. It's a 27-inch iMac. Mm-hmm. Love it. Had it upgraded. Had the SSD put in.
Oh, and big improvement, yeah?
Yeah, big improvement. And I since bought a Mac Mini, and I've been doing my video editing on that. But the problem with the big one is I get a white screen now. When I start it up, it's a white screen, and it has a black lines about the size of a thread. They go from top to bottom all the way across the screen. Little black lines with white in between. Like
do they go away when you get your color screen up?
No, nothing comes up.
That's all you get. Oh, yeah.
That's all I get.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's not good. So that means your monitor has failed. Now, it may not be the monitor itself. It could just be the cable connecting the monitor. But yeah, that's kind of how monitors die. When they die, they die with strange looks on their faces.
Oh yeah.
So
this one went down. I'll tell you.
That's the problem with the iMac, though, is everything's integral to that monitor. That's the whole computer. So it's not an inexpensive thing to replace it. It could be the monitor, could be as inexpensive as the cable to the monitor, could be the graphics processing circuitry. I don't know if you had a discrete GPU or using Intel graphics, but it could be those failed. I suppose it could be a software or driver issue. One thing that'd be probably worth trying before you give up on that thing is maybe booting into recovery mode by holding down Command R. Turn the machine all the way off, hold down Command and R, and then turn it on. See if you can get into recovery mode. Here's my possibility. You know, the operating system is messed up on the internal hard drive, that new SSD you put in. Doing Command R will boot into recovery mode without using that operating system. It's conceivable. That might, if that works, then good news. It's just a matter of reinstalling everything on that internal drive.
Okay. Would it be, since it's so darn old, can I take the have the hard drive taken out and put into a case and then use it and get on my programs and everything off of it?
As you know, with the iMac, taking that drive out is no easy matter. You probably didn't do that yourself, did you?
Oh, no.
You need a giant suction cup.
I know. I've watched the videos.
Because the hard drive's underneath the screen. You have to remove the big glass panel. It's a nightmare. But yeah, you can you could absolutely take it out, put it in an enclosure, and use it as an external drive so you could get your data out. That's exactly what you would do to recover your data.
Yeah, it's probably worth it. What I should do then? I mean, like it's 11 years old. I mean, no, 9 years old.
9 years old, which is we had a caller earlier in the show using a 2011 iMac, although he was about to replace it. I think that's a long time for a computer. You certainly have earned a new one if you wanted to get one. Yeah, your wife.
My wife.
Explain to your spouse. There's always the spousal acceptance factor. But if you can explain it to your wife, you say, "Look, honey, it died. Look at it. Look at it." In fact, maybe you don't want to fix it. Maybe you shouldn't try fixing the cable. See, a cable would be a cheap thing. You still have to open it up to fix it. I would try this software first.
I do have my Mac Mini, which I love. So.
Yeah. You're good. In fact, you can use. This actually ties into our last call about the 2011 iMac. Those iMacs, I think between 2011 and I think 2014, had something called target monitor mode, target screen mode. You can use the iMac's video display as an external display for your Mini. So this would be one way to test it. Connect the Thunderbolt cable from your Mini to the Thunderbolt on the back, or it's probably actually a Mini display port on the back of your Mac. And then you hold down Command F2 when you boot it, and that says, look, don't be a computer, just be a monitor. And if your monitor works when you do that, then it isn't a failure of the monitor or even the cable. It probably is a software failure, or it could be a motherboard failure. But you could still use that monitor with your Mac Mini. Try that.
Okay. Hold down the what
Command F2, or you could just Google target display mode, TDM.
Beautiful.
For the Macintosh. Those old iMacs, because it was such a good monitor, you can use it as an external monitor.
Okay. All right.
If the monitor is dead, this won't work. So this is a good diagnostic.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you for your help. I appreciate it. I love your show. Listen every weekend.
Now, here's the deal.
Yep.
Don't tell
them. On TV.
Yeah, I used to be on TV. That was when I was attractive. Here's the deal. No, I always had a face for it. Here's the deal. Don't tell the spouse. But these new Macs are really nice, and they're going to do a new iMac probably in the next 3 to 4 months. So you might just keep using the Mini and just say, hey, honey, did you see these new M1-based iMacs? They're twice as fast as the old ones. Do you think that'll help? No.
I think so. Well, I have
She'll say, Dennis, you just bought a Mac Mini. What are you, crazy?
Exactly. Well, when I bought this one, I have a friend that works at the Apple store, so he buys it.
Nice.
And it gets me a 25% discount.
Oh.
So it's not bad.
Well, you got, and you, yeah, but that Mac Mini is very affordable at that price. That's great.
No, he bought the big one, my 27-inch.
Oh, he bought the 27-inch, yeah.
Yeah, then I went up to his house and picked it up.
Nice.
Yeah, it's working fine.
Well, listen,
I mean, it works great.
So that's an interesting thing. Try the Target. I like Target display mode. Try that with the iMac, and that'll let you know if you've got a problem that you can't solve. Then you do really need to get a new iMac, honey. I need one. I don't want one. Don't confuse me. Don't think I'm just trying to get a new computer for no reason at all. I need one. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I can't decide, Laura, our musical director, if she's Lady Laura, which has nice alliteration, but it has kind of also a medieval sound to it. Professor Laura, because I could see her with Professor Long Hair and a baton, or Dr. Laura. The problem with Dr. Laura is there's already is a Dr. Laura. Which would you like, Lady Laura?
I'd like Professor.
Professor Laura? All right.
Professor Lady Laura.
Professor Lady Laura, she says. Dr. Professor Lady Laura, our musical director, spinning the discs. Thank you. Cheers. I appreciate all you do to keep the show on the air. Her finger hovered over the special button that you press if somebody swears at me. And so far, you haven't had to hit that, have you? You've hit it?
True.
Yeah, once? All right. But it was an accident. Twice? It was an accident. The guy didn't know. In fact, I remember we afterwards, he said, dude, you can't say that. He said, did I say that? I said, yes, you can't say that. Actually, I think Kim did. Are you tenured? They want to know in the chat room. Professor Laura.
Not yet. I'm working on it.
Dr. Laura and Mr. Laporte. On the line 2, Richard in South Texas. Hello, Richard. Uh-oh. Hello, Richard. I can't hear you.
Leo?
There he is. Hi, Richard.
Sorry about that.
No problem. You were muted.
Afternoon.
These things happen. Good afternoon.
Well, I had a couple of questions for you.
Go right ahead. I'm here for you.
Okay, so about a year ago, I adopted this new hobby where I'm doing night sky imaging.
Oh, what a great hobby.
Oh, it's fun. And I process these images through Photoshop to do time-lapse photography.
Oh, that's so cool. What do you use? What camera? What do you use? A telescope like a Celestron or?
No, I do it straight out of the camera with a 24 millimeter lens to try to capture as much of the sky as I can.
Yeah, that's very wide. Yeah. And then how long are your exposures?
Well, I've been toying around with those numbers, and it looks like 10 seconds is the best time for exposures to get the sharpest images.
Yeah, a little longer than that. The stars are moving, so you'll get star trails if you go too long.
Exactly.
Too short, they're too dim. So 10 seconds. Okay, good. That's good to know.
That's what I use, and it changes between cameras, of course, also.
Actually,
but
by the way, I want to correct myself. The stars are, in fact, not moving. We are. Okay, go right ahead.
I didn't catch that.
They act like they're moving, but it's actually us. Okay.
When you're looking through the camera, they are moving.
It feels like they're moving. Yeah.
I use a Sony A7R4.
Oh, you have I have the same camera. That's a great camera.
Oh, it's absolutely astounding for imaging the night sky. You'll probably get into that hobby and thank me for this.
I will. I have a tripod. I have that 24 millimeter lens you're talking about, the A7R4. I love the camera. And 42 megapixels, so you get a lot of detail.
No, it's 61 megapixels.
61. Holy moly. Holy mackerel. Yeah. That's a lot of pixels. Camera. Yeah, it really is. Yeah. By the way, I now have to correct my correction. Both the stars and us are moving. It's just the stars are moving so slowly you can't really see it compared to our movement. Okay.
Well, yeah.
Everything's moving. It's an expanding universe. Okay.
Yep. I sent you an email of a comet, or not a comet, a meteor that I caught.
Oh.
That crashed into the atmosphere and disintegrated. It's a very cool, and I just sent you a real short clip
I didn't see it. I will look for it. Thank you. I get so much email. Unfortunately, I miss a lot of it. So
I know.
I will look for it though. Thank you.
You'll enjoy that video that I sent you. It's awesome.
Well, you now have encouraged me because I've wanted to do this for a while. Now, do you have to go out to a dark area? You're in South Texas. I'm thinking there's not a lot of city lights where you are.
Well, I'm located right on Baffin Bay.
Okay. Hold on. I got to take a break. Hold on just a second, and we'll come back because I want to hear more. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Yeah, there's way too much, even though we're not in a city, there's enough light in the sky, I think, that I'd have to find somewhere a little darker. Baffin Bay, huh?
Yeah, it's actually better if you lived in a dark place because then you could image right from your backyard. It takes 5 minutes to set the camera up.
Right.
You go to sleep, and then you come back the next morning, hopefully before the sun rises, and you stop the imaging. And even if it's after the sun rises, you just cut those out with Photoshop because you get all that washout.
So you're setting it to take successive 10-second exposures? What are you doing?
Okay, so the Sony has a built-in interval shooting function that you can use.
Right.
And I do 10-second exposures with a 3-second pause in between pictures.
And you just go to bed?
Yeah, and then you wake up the next morning, you stop it, and then the hard part comes. You start to work with Photoshop and setting it up. It's a very lengthy process because overnight I might, depending on the time of the year, I might capture anywhere between 2,500 and 4,000 images. And you have to put those, you have to import those into Photoshop. You do your editing of the photos, and then, you do a thing where you sync all of them the same way, and then you produce the video. And it takes probably, and I bought a PC. I'm so used to Mac, but Mac wasn't able to do it until probably now with the M1. But Mac could not keep up with all of the images that I was trying to process before.
Yeah.
So I bought a really high quality PC to do that. And even with that, it takes 5 or 6 hours to do the processing.
Wow.
So that comes to my question. For time-lapse processing like that, would I be better off sticking with Photoshop, or is Affinity something I should maybe consider, do you think? Or
so what are you doing? You're looking at each image.
Well, I pick one image.
Okay, so you've already this is not to go through the images. This is when you've already decided what image you want to work on.
Well, I don't really. What I do is I go to about the middle of all of the different images that I have. Say if it's 4,000, I might go around image 2,000.
Yeah.
And I'll pick that photo. I'll edit it the way that I think it looks best, and put in all the different changes to it with Photoshop. Then I sync all of the photos to those settings, and it converts everything over in a long period.
I get what you're doing. Yes. So you're doing a volume, per volume adjustment, because once you get the right light and everything, you just apply it to all of them.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And it makes it so much easier.
Oh, that's a smart way to do it. Yeah.
And then I stack them up in stacks and process it and render a video from it. But it's so time consuming. I mean, not that you have to be there in front of the computer.
So you're turning them into time lapses.
Yeah, I combine all. I stack those images, all 4,000. Well, right now it's 3,700 images in a row that I stack together. You can render a video out of that through Photoshop, and it comes out. But it takes 5 or 6 hours to get that done. So every night that I do this, the next day I'm on the computer on and off. I don't have to sit there for 5 or 6 hours. I put it to work, and in between all these steps, I go in and go to the next step, and it's like 3 steps or so, and it's just time consuming. So
what so Photoshop certainly is a power tool because it's generalized. Though it might not be the perfect thing to do those specific things. So what you want to do is you want to take one image, get the settings just so, and then apply it to the 4,000 images on the hard drive.
Right.
Apply those settings.
That's the most time-consuming step.
How long does it take you?
Well, that step is probably 3 hours or so.
Yeah.
And then you stack it in the images, and that takes another hour or so. And then you render the video. By the time you're finished, you've spent 5 or 6 hours. You put the computer to work for 5 or 6 hours to get a final product. You don't have to sit there. You just
hold on just a second. We got to come back here. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. We're having fun talking to Richard. He lives on Baffin Bay down in South Texas near Corpus Christi. And because it's a nice dark area, he can point his fancy camera up at the sky and take 2,000 to 4,000 pictures overnight of the night sky, which sounds awesome. But then he's got a problem. He's got to process them. And we were talking off the air, so he kind of explained what he does. He takes something in the middle of all of those pictures and adjusts it just right for the lighting, all the settings he wants to get it to look just right. And once you've got all those settings, you can then, in a tool like Photoshop or Lightroom, take that setting and apply it to all the other images so that they all kind of have the same, color temperature and all of that, so that they all look the same. And then once those are all settled in, he takes those images and turns them each into a frame in a movie, which is cool. So you get a time lapse of the night sky. But he says it takes hours, many hours, to do all that, and he wants to know if there's a better tool than Photoshop. Did I accurately characterize that, Richard?
Yeah, pretty much, except I do use Photoshop for all of the processing. I don't really go into Lightroom.
Yeah, I only mentioned Lightroom because it would also allow you to get the adjustments just right and then apply it to all of them. It wouldn't be faster than Photoshop by any means. Lightroom's kind of a hog. So the chat room is saying there is a tool that they recommend that is specifically for this kind of photography. It's called Pix Insight, and it runs on Mac OS X as well as Linux. And it is an astrophotography tool that has scripting built into it. And that's where you're going to perhaps get some benefit. Not only is it optimized to do what you're talking about, but because it has scripting built in. Oh, it runs on Windows as well. That's nice. You could set up one time only a script to do exactly what you're doing and then have it happen automatically while you walk away. The computer's only as fast as the computer is. And, you've already probably got a super fast computer with a big GPU and lots of RAM, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because 61 megapixel pictures, those take a lot of RAM to load in. And when you have more than one of them, you could easily maximize your RAM. So besides getting more RAM and a faster hard drive and a faster GPU, then this sounds like the tool. It looks pretty powerful. It has a color management tool that will allow you to do those color management things that you want to do. But it also has a command line interface and a scripting capability, which I think sounds really interesting. There's a try before you buy a download, so you can, you can see what they can do. I think it'd be worth taking a look at. Pix Insight. Sounds like this is what I would want to use if I were doing astrophotography. PIXINSIGHT.com. And let me there's a commercial license, but you're not doing this commercially. So,
No.
Yeah, so I think you can try it free for 45 days, and then I don't know exactly what the cost is afterwards. But this is dedicated to doing exactly what you just described.
Okay, I'll definitely check that out.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It is not Apple M1. You have to use an Intel processor, an Intel architecture. And it's funny that they have it for Linux and FreeBSD as well as Mac and Windows. So I'm guessing this is probably a professional tool used by...
yeah, I'm on their website now, and I have seen this before, and I forgot about this program.
Yeah, well, that's why our chat room is so good. Yeah, look at the images, too. They have a beautiful images. Now, you said you mailed me the Comet. What email address did you send that to? Or the Meteor, yeah.
I sent it to Ask Leo at
okay, good.
Ask Leo at TWiT TV.
I will find it then. I will go look in that mailbox.
I used an old email address that you used to recommend from Screensavers, the fast mail.
I still use fast mail, yeah.
I do too.
Yeah, it's a great service. Somebody else is saying Capture One. If you have a Sony, as you do, there is a free version of Capture One for Sony cameras. Sony has a deal with Capture One. That would be worth at least looking at and trying. It's a tool a lot of people use instead of Lightroom. It's kind of a high-end photo tool. But do you shoot in RAW or JPEG?
I shoot in RAW, and that's very highly recommended because you're able to capture more detail that way.
Yeah, RAW is basically all of the detail, all of the information coming off that 61 megapixel sensor without any modification at all. And you're right, you wouldn't want to have the camera modify that. You want all the data as is.
Yeah.
All right, now I'm going to play with it. You got me inspired. I'm just going to have to find somewhere dark enough.
Yeah, it's too bad that you're not located at a dark spot because you don't have that luxury of being able to just set the camera up and then go outside and do it and go back inside and go to sleep. That's the luxury that I have here.
I'm not putting my expensive camera and lens outside anywhere around here. There is a tool also the chat room's telling me called LR Time Lapse, which is specifically designed to do this as well, create time lapses out of it. LRtimelapse.com. Again, chat room to the rescue. It does all of the things you just described, or what it does, keyframing and grading, a raw file-based workflow. It works either with Lightroom Classic or Camera Raw. You already have Adobe Camera Raw if you have Photoshop. Sounds like it's another thing to take a look at, LRtimelapse.com.
Okay, I'll check that out. Thanks, guys, in the chat room.
Yeah, they're good, aren't they? I have a feeling you have some astrophotography comrades in the chat room. Sounds like they might be doing it as well. Moving on to line one, Joe in Phoenix, Arizona. Hello, Joe. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hey, Leo. Thanks for taking my call.
Thanks for hanging on.
Oh, my pleasure. I've had the pleasure of talking to you a couple other times. But this time, man, I really need you because I'm really
oh no
my mind here.
What's the matter?
Well, it's probably been gone for a while. Okay, so I just got a new Pixel 5. I love the phone. I came from a Pixel 3. I'm going on vacation too. I'm leaving the country for a month. So anyway, this thing, when I do the hot word,
yeah,
all I get the little light, on the bottom of the phone or around the edge, but I do not get a report or a.
You don't get the bloop?
Nope. No, and I was on with the support guys for a while, and they just ran me through every little thing that you can do, and then I finally the call dropped, and so they just put me there.
So of course. And this is the problem with all of these platforms now. They're mature, which means they've got a lot of settings, and finding the setting you want is not always easy. As it often is the case, the best way to do this is to go into the accessibility settings. I think a lot of times people say, well, I'm not blind, I'm not deaf, I don't need to use accessibility settings. Well, one of the things you can do in the accessibility settings is turn on the ding after you say, hey, you know who. It's buried in there in the accessibility settings. Let me see if I can find.
I read about that, and I looked in there, and I couldn't find it. I use that to bring it up from the bottom for screenshots.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Let me see. If you get a vibration, if accessible, all of the accessibility services in your device are set to off, you'll get a vibration, but won't get a ding, regardless of the volume. But it says change one accessibility service to on, and that will. I'm looking at Android Police's article from a few years ago, so it might be out of date. That will ring the ding from the depth of your phone's root files, and then fling and sling it at your ears with the thump of 1,000 pings and tings. I think Dr. Seuss wrote this. I'll put a link in the show notes. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I don't know. Is that the one you were looking at?
Yeah, it still didn't. It didn't
do it.
It didn't work.
Oh man.
No, so I reset the phone all the way, to scratch a little bit ago, and went back because I thought maybe I had something, an app or something that was causing that. And I got my
Which launcher are you using? Are you using the Pixel launcher or somebody else's launcher?
The Pixel launcher.
Okay.
And I'm all the way back to scratch, and it still won't do it. So I'm kind of wondering if it isn't the phone. Sorry, I didn't raise my voice. This thing is like...
I'm angry. No, I didn't even notice. I didn't even notice.
I think it's the phone. You know, I mean, because I got the Pixel 3 sitting right next to it with Android 11, right? I go through it. You know,
wonder if they turned that off. So let me ask the chat room. Any of you have? I don't have my Pixel 5 with me. Or 4 with me. I have my Samsung with me. Anybody in the chat room have a Pixel 5? Do you hear the ding? Do you know how to fix the ding?
It worked for when I first got it. I've had it for about 2 weeks. It worked. And then it quit working.
So weird.
And then I messed with the accessibility stuff, and it worked maybe for an hour.
And now it's turning off again.
Now I got nothing but the lights on the bottom, and it's really frustrating because I use it to turn stuff on and off in my house. The phone, you know, when it...
Yeah.
I'm not...
Yeah.
And it's...
Somebody was asking me this a couple of weeks ago about the Amazon Echo, and I actually found a command in the Echo. You could just tell the Echo, turn on the acknowledgement sound. I can't remember what they call it, the ding. But I don't know how to do that on the Pixel 5. You like the phone, though? Are you happy with it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I needed a backup, and I'm going to Costa Rica for probably a month.
Oh, I'm so jealous. Now, can you go there with... do you have to quarantine? How do you do that?
No, about a month ago they lifted it. They had a deal where you had to get a PCR test.
Yep.
Like 72 hours before they lifted that. So now all I had to do is I bought insurance through them.
Yep. Yeah, healthcare insurance.
Then,
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Right.
In case you get sick.
And good to go. I love it there. I'm moving there full time.
Oh, I'm so jealous. I've been thinking about that. Which part of the country are you going to move to?
Well, I'm starting off. I have friends in San Isidro, which is about 80 south of San Jose, and I'm going to be spending probably like a week or two in Domenico. They have some family there. I have a girlfriend there, and then my next step is over to Osa, to the peninsula.
I'm so jealous. Oh, someday. I'm just gonna wander around why not?
For a while.
Beautiful country.
I'm a truck driver. I called you a couple times. And
I remember you, Joe. Yeah.
I had a hip operation, and I'm out of business here for a while. So.
Yeah.
What?
Well, good.
I want to travel.
Good.
So now I'm going to do.
And it's affordable to live. It's affordable to live down there. Yeah.
It is cheap to live there.
So,
I mean, compared to what I pay in Phoenix. Come on.
So your retirement will go a lot longer. Yeah. Nice.
You betcha. Well, it's the whole thing, man. It's a pure Vita thing. You know, it's.
I'd love that. That's what I want.
That's what I need.
That's what I want. That. Yep. Simple life. Yep. Pura Vida.
I'll send you pictures.
Oh, will you please? Thank you, Joe.
From my Pixel 5.
Nice. And we're going to keep looking because it does look like it kind of comes and goes. Your experience is not unique. I see this from a number of people. I wonder if it's a Google issue.
I think it is, because why would it work?
Right.
You know, and
you're not changing anything.
No, and my Pixel 3 sits right next to it and works perfectly.
Joe, I got to run. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, with a hearty thank you to Professor Laura, our musical director, to Kim Schaffer, the phone angel, taking your calls. Most of all, though, thanks to you for calling, for listening. It would be crazy for me to just sit here talking to myself for hours at end. You're keeping the loony bin at arm's length. Thank you. No, I'm not talking to myself. There's people listening. I know it looks like I'm talking to myself. Pretty much, just for all intents and purposes, I'm just sitting here alone in a room talking to myself. But I'm pretty sure there's people listening. See? I'm not crazy. Thank you. I'm being facetious. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Terry in Valley Center, California. Hey, Terry. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hey, Leo. Good to talk to you.
Good to talk to you. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, I've listened to you for years on the weekends when I'm out working around, cleaning my corrals and stuff.
I'll think of you slinging the hay the next time I'm talking on the radio.
Well, hay is nice and clean.
I'm being yes. I sanitized my phrase there. It sounds nice. You have horses? Is that what you're doing? Is horses?
Yeah.
Nice.
Here in Valley Center, when I moved here over 30 years ago, it was just avocados, oranges, and horses.
Oh, sounds lovely. Sounds lovely.
But it's nice. I listen to you a lot, and lately, it started a few months ago. We changed our TV service. We're satellite here, and I went from DishNet to Direct. I didn't really want to, but we changed mainly because DishNet stopped their contract with Fox Regional Sports.
Oh, well, that's no good.
Well, we always watch every San Diego Padres game.
Yeah. I need my ball games. Yeah.
That went away, and I even know their rates are always higher, but I paid it because we had live entertainment every day for 6 months that you can't get anywhere else. But the problem is they came out, DirecTV came out, and we changed over. Tech set us all up and everything, and we checked everything out. And I have a set of wireless headphones. I've had those for 10 years. They've always worked great. And with DishNet, I had the Hopper and Sling. We bought all that new too a couple of years ago, and I loved their Hopper with Sling.
Nice.
And then with Direct though, to watch like Netflix stuff, it's not built into the Hopper just to choose it and use one remote for everything, And so he said, yeah, you have to watch like Netflix. We have to just watch it through the TV.
Right.
And so I do that. I watch Netflix. We watch the movies and stuff. And if I'm not using headphones, everything's fine. But since they changed over, my headphones won't work with the Netflix.
So you don't hear anything at all?
Well, it's just static in it, and it's a heavy tone static with maybe little tiny fast rapid clicking. And I've checked hookups and everything. I got optical cable runs from the TV. I have it split out into.
So so the headphones you said are wireless, but there's a base unit, right?
Yeah.
And what is the base unit connected to?
I have it connected to coming right out of the TV audio.
Okay. Because you want to hear not only what's on the hop or in the satellite dish receiver, but you also want to hear what's on Netflix. And you said you're using the Netflix on the TV.
The satellite, all the programming out of Direct
is fine.
It works fine.
Yeah.
But it's only when I go to, like at night, because my wife will go to bed and she doesn't want to hear the sound, so I always watch with the phones. And I'm thinking it doesn't make a lot of sense. Why would I be able to watch all the programming on all that's from the satellite stuff, programming and everything, but when I go to Netflix, turn a movie on, everything's. I can watch it with the regular sound on coming out of this, and because I go to the Soundbar.
Yep, it's coming to the sound, and the Soundbar you're connecting via optical cable from the TV. Yep. So that's what I think might be. That might be what happening. Tell me. So when again the Bluetooth, the wireless base station is plugged into the headphone jack of the TV, or what is it? What part of the TV is it plugged into?
Well, the TV is a Samsung smart TV, and it only has one audio output.
Yeah.
It's the optical. So I put a splitter on.
Oh, I get it.
And I put one of and so coming out of there, one of them goes down to the Soundbar,
Is it an optical
And the other
splitter?
one goes right to, huh?
Is it an optical splitter? What kind of splitter is it?
I bought it. I bought it online, and I got
It's
it.
got to be for opticals. 'Cause remember, what's coming out of the TV and going to the sound bar is not sound, it's light. It's not electrical, it's not sound, it's light.
Yeah.
So you need a splitter that is optical, and then we'll set optical out to the sound bar, and probably it has a switch inside of it that says where to route that to. Because I don't. What's the name of the splitter? This is a strange setup. What's the name of the splitter?
Well, let me go.
It's an oddball splitter. I don't know. Is it optical going out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got.
And it's optical. So instead, it's optical coming out of the TV into a splitter, and the splitter's sending an optical signal to the soundbar and to your little headphone thing.
Right. The other side of the splitter goes.
So it's a Toslink splitter.
Okay, the brand says Toslink
Yeah.
1TO2.
Okay. So it's an optical splitter.
Yeah, it's optical going in and it's optical coming out.
And presumably both are live at the same time, right? There's no way to switch one to the other.
It's just a plain little flat,
Probably using a prism or something to split the light.
But I'm just wondering where do I look for my problem?
Yeah, good question.
Because it just doesn't make sense. The audio's going to the sound bar, so you can hear it, in the room.
Yeah, and obviously you're not using the light portion coming out into the headphone thing. It's expecting optical, right?
Also, here maybe this is the kicker. There's to go into my headphones. There's no optical jack, but I bought this little thing. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's.
So it's converting the optical. Something's got to convert the optical into the electrical signals that your headphone transceiver is expecting.
What I did buy, because I needed to have the old red and white jacks.
Yeah.
Coming out, and I bought one of these little blocks that the optical plugs into.
Okay.
Out of that, and then it's supposed to convert it into the old twin lead.
Okay, so that's the failure point. At that, I would say that's the issue, because I presume you've got the optical splitter must be working because you can use the sound bar. So I'm going to assume it's also sending the same light to this converter that you have that's converting it from. Optical's a digital input. It's the light, goes on and off to signify the bits very, very rapidly. Something's got to receive that. Your soundbar's doing this. Receive those blinky lights and turn it into electricity, in effect, the kind of electrical output that those headphones require. So I would say that's what's failing. Now, I don't know if it's bad. But I would guess that's it. I have to run, unfortunately, but thank you for an interesting conundrum. So I think Jim in Atlanta's got it. Sorry, I had to break there, and I'm going to have to run too because I got to do some other stuff. But Jim in Atlanta suggests that what you're getting from the TV is not left-right audio. That converter is expecting left-right audio, but what it's getting is a encoded Dolby signal. And that makes sense. Your soundbar wants that, a 5.1 signal.
Okay.
So what you have to do is go into the TV and say, I don't want a Dolby encoded signal. I just want PCM out, an unencoded stereo signal. PCM is probably what you want. And in fact, that makes sense. Jim in Atlanta is saying that because it makes sense because that's why you're hearing the weird stuff you're hearing.
Yeah, it's just kind of like a little high pitch.
Yeah, that's an encoded signal.
Screamy, yeah.
Yeah. So you have two choices. You could get a Dolby decoder to converter from that toss from the optical cable coming out of the splitter. Or you can tell the TV, and you'll have to switch back and forth, but tell the TV, don't send me Dolby. Send me PCM.
Okay, because I've noticed in the TV there's a setting, because I went through all that, because the TV isn't that old, and I thought, and I noticed there is a choice of PCM
Yes.
and the other choice.
Yes. So what you're hearing is the audio, but it's not, unless your brain is a Dolby decoder, it's not going to sound like much. So you need...
I'm going. Yeah, at least I know where the problem is now. I've been trying to think. Look, it doesn't make any sense to me. I have an electronic background, and I'm.
Well, now we got it. But, it took me 10 minutes to even understand your crazy setup.
But it's almost where it is it's right at the end of the whole chain of all.
It's at the last thing, and it's because it's not getting what it expects. That converter's dumb. It just looks for left and right. That's the red and white. So it's just looking for left and right. So what you have to
I can look for a Dolby converter.
Either find something that will take an optical in and convert it, and probably they sell something like that will take the optical in and convert it from Dolby 5.1 to the 2-channel sound your headphones are expecting. Or tell the TV, send it PCM. The problem is you'll have to change that every time you go back and forth if you want surround sound.
Would it be worthwhile that I just a new set of wireless headphones would be set up for the optical to come straight in?
That would work too. Matthew in the chat room has found, let me look real quickly. He's found a converter that takes SPDIF. Yeah, that does it. It converts it from, well, I don't know. I mean, they sell such a thing. It looks like it takes 5.1 and converts it to left-right. Honestly, before I would buy anything more, I would try setting your TV to PCM.
Just to see if that does it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's our diagnosis. If that does it, then you have a choice. You can just do that when you want to listen on the headphones. Or you can, this thing that Retcon gave me, in fact, will not decode 5.1. So that's the problem is 5.1 requires decoding. So you need a Dolby digital decoder. That's going to be, I think, expensive because you got to license it and all that.
Yeah, probably I ought to just look at get another new set of headphones. These are made. These I look back and I got these. My wife bought them for me for Christmas, so I wouldn't wake her up every night. Aww. And she bought them for me in 2011.
Oh yeah, they don't do Dolby. But there are certainly, in fact, I'm looking at they're expensive for $200. Sony L600 digital surround Dolby audio overhead headphones for watching TV, and they're wireless.
Yeah.
And you'd get surround sound. They're expensive though.
Yeah. It just bugged me that I could watch all the regular TV stuff.
Yeah, that's why. And you know what? Because you're technical, you understand exactly now once we say. Right, you know what's going on.
Yep.
Yeah, so there'll be different ways to solve that, but that's what's happening.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
and they do make Dolby decoding headphones, so gamers use those all the time. So you can find something like that.
Yeah, that's what I'll do then.
Yeah.
I said, "Geez, why is it?" I switched from dish to that, and I really do love DirecTV's. DVR and all that is nothing compared to that.
I know the Hopper was the king of the hill. I know.
And then the Sling added on that it's so convenient.
I know.
You don't have one remote. I could go in and out to the internet. I can, you don't even have to pick up the TV remote to go to change the source for all that. So
here we go. Uncle Bick has found a $33 device. It takes Dolby digital in and converts it to left-right.
Oh, that's great.
PROZOR. It's the ProZor. It's a DAC. That's what you need. You need a digital to analog converter. It's only $33. ProZor. So it'll take. Oh, wait a minute. Does it take optical in? Yeah, it says it takes Toslink.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. PCM. I don't know. You're going to want to pick this carefully. I think the first thing to do is set the TV to PCM, see if that fixes it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll try it.
All right.
Hey, thanks a lot.
Thanks, Terry.
Your help.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Well, that's it for the Tech Guy Show for today. Thank you so much for being here. And don't forget TWiT, TWiT. It stands for This Week in Tech, and you'll find it at twit.tv, including the podcasts for this show. We talk about Windows on Windows Weekly, Macintosh on MacBreak Weekly, iPads, iPhones, Apple Watches on iOS Today, security on Security Now. I mean, I can go on and on and on. And, of course, the big show every Sunday afternoon, This Week in Tech. You'll find it all at twit.tv. And I'll be back next week with another great Tech Guys show. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time.